Hi everyone, welcome to Collegedunia Thoughts on Education initiative, through which we aim to better communicate vision of colleges to prospecting students and parents. Today we have with us Mr. Prateek Kanwal, co-founder of Kautilya School of Public Policy. He did his master's in public policy from Harvard Kennedy School. He was awarded the prestigious World Bank Scholarship for his work in the areas of educational reform and social innovation. He is currently the project director at Ekatrik to educate girls. He's also the founder of Citizens for Public Leadership. Welcome, Mr. Kanwal.
Hi, good to be here with you.
Sir, can you tell us a little bit about your experience in the public policy space?
So I've been a development professional for over close to 12 years. I've started working on the higher education ratings of why quality and finances of higher education institutions in India is quite compromised. As you run Collegedunia, you might know that not every college promises great placements or promises great infrastructure. Right, most of the colleges are just paperweight degree granting institutions. Right, nothing more, nothing less. But they charge huge fees. On the other side, they take loans from the bank. Right, and if the good students don't come, people don't turn up. Most of these engineering colleges, B schools, a lot of them get shut, right? So it's a fly-by-night operator concept, right? So we were trying to understand when I started my career of why, what is the success mantra for running a college, right? So way back in 2009-10, I had started working on why Indian colleges are not able to compete with their counterparts across the world or in India, right? The top ones like IIM. Why do we have only few IIMs and few IITs and not offering higher education at scale? So that's how I started my career. Then I did my Teach for India fellowship for 2 years in Bombay, wherein I was a primary school teacher in a slum school, private low-income private slum school in Bombay. And then I was leading expansion and government relations vertical for Teach for India for another 2 years. I worked briefly with the on secondment from Teach for India to UIDI on the Aadhaar project, and I wrote an approach paper on how scholarships can be linked to the Aadhaar card and people can get direct benefit transfer. So I've been sort of deeply entrenched in not only ground level work, but also how can that be institutionalized at whatever learnings come out of the policy ecosystem while working on the ground. How can they be institutionalized, right? So that's what I did. Then I also worked on Madhya Pradesh School Quality Assurance Program. It was a tripartite agreement between different, ARC and government of Madhya Pradesh on how to sort of understand, again, the similar concept of why certain schools are performing better than the other and why can't. Then they were, at that time, Madhya Pradesh was having over 100,000 schools as a system, which is more than Europe, right, probably, and UK put together, right? So in such a large-scale school system, why do only few schools perform? And, as we go on into the rural areas and the hinterland and the tribal areas, the school quality drops like substantially, right? So again, why? How do you assure quality across the spectrum, right? How do you assure consistency of delivery across the system? That's what I did with the Madhya Pradesh School Quality Assurance Program, and then I was awarded the scholarship and I got admitted to the Kennedy School. Kennedy School is one of the leading policy schools, at the Harvard University, obviously in Boston, and then I studied my master's in public policy there for 2 years, keeping the focus on how can social outcome be linked to political outcomes, how can campaign management become an important tool in India, how do you ensure, again, great Ivy League education can be delivered at scale in India, right? So these were some of my research areas. I did two very interesting projects. I went to, support the education ministry in Liberia on school quality assurance, and also went to Ireland to work on with their Sustainable Development Authority to look at how to create behavioral nudges, which is an important field in public policy, behavioral economics. How do you sort of create that for people to move from, the diesel and petrol vehicles to a clean fuel, or what you say, a hydroelectric variant of it, right? And also how do people improve the heating in their house, which is more energy efficient, right? So I worked on behavioral economics aspect as well. So, and then since I've been back in India, I've been working with Educate Girls as head of strategic partnerships and now leading a project called Ekatrit, which is to do with the SDGs and how our policy, needs to be aligned to ensure delivery of SDG outcomes in the country. Been running a think tank called Citizens for Public Leadership. It's a think tank, do tank, wherein we run a policy fellowship called the CPL Fellowship. And it basically allows anyone and everyone who's interested remotely in the field of public policy to establish themselves in the field by giving them knowledge, skills, and networks. And over the last 2 years, I've been fortunate enough to go the extra mile and set up a public policy school as well, which can So when I was sort of looking at a public policy education, I was told in India you don't have great options way back in 2015, right? So that still stuck on me that India is a country of 1.5 billion people and growing. Like I'm sure we'll be growing to 1.5 billion in another 2 or 3 decades. What happens then, right? We have established IITs, we've established IIMs, we've established ISBs, Ashokas, private universities like Kriya, OP Jindal, Flame have come up, right? But why is it so that not many people want to invest in a P school? We have many B schools, right? But where people get a lot of substandard degrees as well at high cost, right? But there is a market for it. But why is there not market for a great Ivy League policy school? Why has people not thought about offering policy education at the same level at which the business school education is being offered, right? Why can't we create an ISB to start off with, or an Ashoka for a policy, right? Why do at least 400, 500 people have to travel from India to various parts of UK and US, probably to Lee Kuan University in Singapore, which is like the size of smaller than Chandigarh as a city, right? But has a great policy school, right? So why do we not have a history of great policy school? We're a country which is heavily involved in policy making, politics, right? We're privatizing a lot of these things, right? But we're still relying on public policy experts to come from outside to India. We don't have our homegrown public policy professionals, like, so that's something which sort of sums up my angst of I don't think I'm alone. I can do it. Like I cannot alone decide the outcomes for the entire country. It's a diverse country. We need many leaders. We need an army of policy professionals to push the system from outside to actually ensure that service delivery, is guaranteed to the last mile, ensuring that infrastructure is in place, education is in place, health is in place. We are able to globally produce, things which are required, have a good flourishing industry and economy. So all these, I feel, we've run a very closed system of bureaucracy and, foreign service for a long, long time. And now time has come that youngsters, find their rightful place. And there is an alternative which was also created at the bureaucracy and foreign service level, when we're able to bring in horses for courses. People who are working in the 15 years, 20 years in the education space, like myself, need to be, accommodated at the highest echelons of policy, right? And then that's what the aim is. Like, how do we produce quality policy graduates, high caliber, high quality policy graduates, and push them into various domains of public policy and politics.
So you have talked about the need for public policy schools in India and also the importance for policy graduates going forward. So in this context, what is your vision for Kautilya School of Public Policy?
Kautilya School of Public Policy is a school born globally, right? If you look at our social media presence as well, we are not talking about just India-centric work. We're saying global frameworks, India-specific grounding, right? So how do you match Indian ethos with the global frameworks? That's the vision, right? You get in what has worked in the world, not only just in the West, right? Could be in China, could be in various parts of the world, right? Could be Finland. Finland has the greatest education system, right? Why do we not learn the best practices from there, ground them in the Indian ethos, in the Indian way of doing things, and sort of, flourish together, right? So it's a bridge between the world and India in terms of best practices for public policy. If you look at why I'm saying we're a school born globally, we already have professors from Harvard and Stanford and World Bank, etc., coming and nurturing talent in India, right? So when we're saying, okay, best in class faculty, okay, best in class network. If you look at the board which we bring to the table, these are all people who are stalwarts in each and every field, be it law, be it politics, be it your economics, your education, technology. These are people who have been there, done that, right? And if these people are there to guide the next generation, I feel we have the best network, we have the best faculty. The curriculum is not a very traditionalist Indian math heavy budgeting, finance, economics curriculum. As India, we are a country which knows these things really well, and will only teach you statistics, economics, finance, right? But forget that, data science is important. Where are those Pythons, Tableaus, AI, ML for social good, campaign management, communication for public policy. So this brings in a wide variety of issues to the table, right? We're not an economics, finance, budgeting. I know these things are important, but there are other schools which are able to do that, right? We feel our niche lies in globalization of public policy education, looking at issues like climate change, health, education across the world, right? Getting multilaterals into the place, right? If you look at, our board and our leadership, we have Syed Akbaruddin, who's a former UN representative, and one of the most decorated foreign services officers as our dean, right? Ambassador Navteej Sarna, who's been our ambassador to UK, Israel, and US, and sort of has been another decorated foreign services officer on the board. We have Indermeet Gill, who's vice president of equitable growth at the World Bank, being part of our sort of board and the teaching team, right? So this is why it is a global school. The ambit is to bring in multilateralism, is to bring in focus on climate change, education, health, given what is happening, right? On data sciences like AI, ML, getting in, again, big tech, right? How do you sort of deal with the big tech privacy laws and what has been happening in the current ecosystem with Google, Facebook, Instagram coming into question with the government, right? How do you create a seamless way of operating, right? How do you sort of ensure Niti Aayog has specialists, right, going in and working for them? How does state government has smart OSDs working for them in this field, right? So our gamut is not just limited to a traditionalist school like economics, finance, and budgeting, right, and math, right? We want to move away from it. We feel these will be taught. Obviously, I'm not saying these will not be taught, but I'm saying let's think how a global policy school addresses these issues or teaches policy education, right? So that, in a nutshell, is how our USP is defined.
So, being the co-founder of Kautilya School of Public Policy, what is your philosophy of leadership? How would you describe your leadership style?
I think a leader has to stand up to what she or he feels is right and not what is easy. I think having the spine, having the ability to sort of call a spade without affected by the external environment around you. I think calling out the issues of the contemporary issues, right? Thinking about the future. I think our policy graduates are not being designed or being readied for the world which is now, right? It is for the world in 10 years time, in 20 years time. What will be the requirement? Can the leader at Kautilya or how I think is what is relevant not now, but what is going to be relevant 20 years from now, when these people will take up their rightful places as CEOs? What are the challenges which are going to dominate them, right? Again, a leader is somebody who keeps the work at the center, keeps the ego out, keeps the sense of entitlement out, right? Keeps the power out of his head and stays grounded. Listens to the people on the ground. Again, I feel the policy school Kautilya is a handiwork of not just one or two people, but we've spoken to at least 100, 150 people who've given us a feedback of what India needs in the international realm of affairs, right? And how this policy school can be set up differently and set up straight away at the global level, right? So we're not calling ourselves an Indian policy school. We're saying a policy school for India, by India, but born globally, right? So that's something, and I feel those leaders who can now think both local and global, right, at the same time, keep themselves firmly rooted to what they think and their spine straight. That is the kind of leadership which the country requires right now.
So what do you see as challenges going forward for public policy education in India in general, and for Kautilya School of Public Policy in specific?
I think if you look at the evolution of public policy as a mass product, it's only been last 5 years, right? We were still the early adopters when we went. Before me, IS officers used to only do sabbaticals and study leaves and study public policy, right? Because it was their domain, right? But as India has opened up in the last 5 to 6 years, you've seen stuff like campaign management after Prashant Kishore's, effort in 2014 and what he's been doing consistently. This huge field of campaign management has come in. Where do people come in? If they're not trained, MBA won't train you for a role in campaign management or teach you campaign. Campaign communication has become a big thing. Writing speeches, analyzing data for campaigns has become big. So this whole, industry of campaign management has kicked in, right? Then this whole big tech industry and its interface with the government, right? You've been seeing what is happening with Twitter, Facebook, Google, etc. Right? They're all, and these laws which are being made because now the government is waking up and understanding, they need to govern this whole space of big tech, right? So, again, a lot of policy roles have sort of come in. If you look at the job descriptions for, the grievance addressal officers or the public policy team, they'll require a public policy degree master's minimum, right, to get them in, right? So then if you look at the non-profits, I think with the FCRA and the 2% net profit of companies reserved under the, the Companies Act, right, more and more non-profits are getting money to hire good talent, right? Again, cause-driven, impact-driven careers in non-profits with a good, decent salary is something which a lot of people are now waking up to. I think corporates in itself are developing teams. Advocacy PR firms are hiring public policy graduates, right? So, and this is all, if you look at even Niti Aayog and, various state government fellowships which have come in, fellowships like the Gandhi fellowships have come in, right? Your PR, PRL Legislative runs the LAMP Fellowship, right? Those fellowships have again mushroomed in the last 5 to 7 years or have found their place, right? So I feel there is a big, supply side issue, right? Demand is there, but there is no standalone great policy school which gives an MPP degree. There are diploma granting education institutions which are fantastic, right? But the question is, when you require a master's in public policy degree, you have to get hired. There is a premium to offer that degree, right? And how do you offer it at the scale of a global school, right? Is something which is required in India. I feel our bigger challenge is, are schools going to be just small scale, 3-story accommodation kind of a policy, diploma granting institutions, right? Because they fill in the short-term need, right? I feel they fill in the short-term gap need. Long-term, research-driven, academic-driven, industry-led, policy school is not what we have, right? And that is what our endeavor is. We've already spent over 100 crores in building this institution, despite the land and building given by the Geetham University, right? So I think Geetham University is also backing this initiative to the hilt, right? Saying, okay, this is what we feel is required for this country, right? And this is where the next generation of talented policy leaders should make a beeline for, right? And I feel offering a degree at 1/10 of the cost of, a Kennedy School or others is also our forte, right? We don't want people to be heavily burdened by a loan, and we're offering a robust scholarship. I think 30% of our, revenues are reserved for scholarship, because we feel this is an endeavor not only just, to create a school, but an endeavor to, build the nation, right? And that's our contribution to building the nation, right? When we're saying, okay, 30% of our revenues straight are reserved for scholarship, right? And we're offering scholarship in the band of 25, 50, 75 and up to 100% also for meritorious students who have need. So need-based scholarship is also something which I feel is required in India. That's a challenge, because not many people, so in MBA, you see, okay, return on investment is guaranteed. This is a new field. Imagine this being the MBA in 1970s, when people didn't know what you're going to do. Remember, people used to tell, why are you doing an MBA? You should do a master's in engineering and become an engineer, right? Because there is a guarantee that you will do something, right? What is this, degree in the cloud which no one knows about, right? So we're saying, okay, we're helping you build a trust as a country, saying, okay, there is a demand for policy school, and a lot of these business schools will be directly in competition in the future. I'm calling MPP the new MBA, right? I feel a lot of people who are not going to build an impactful career after MBA are not going to do that degree anymore and are going to move to MPP. So I invite a lot of other universities, a lot of other thinkers on public policy. A lot of new age thinking needs to be brought in the public policy domain. And I feel our challenge is going to be, can we have 10, 20 Kautilyas, not just one, right? We're not here to compete, we're here to collaborate. I feel, Harvard doesn't collaborate with Princeton or Yale or Stanford, right? Or Berkeley's or Brown's, right? I've just named 5, 6 top universities who are not competing and are surviving and are thriving, right? So our job is, can we create 15, 20 top schools where talent not only from India can come and study, but talent from across the world who's interested in the Indian market, in the Indian public policy and political sphere can also come and join us. So we are going to open, admissions and make it just like an ISB or an Ashoka, make it a global batch in the years to come.
Sir, can you talk about some of the faculty who will be offering courses as part of the Kautilya's MPP program?
Sure. So if you look at our course brochure or website or social media, you will realize that there's Professor Glenn Cremon, who's coming from Stanford to teach writing and communication. He's mentored over 10 Pulitzer Prize winners, is a New York Times editor for about 25, 30 years. You have Professor Steve Jarding, who's run political campaigns in 60 different countries across the world, has taught, and created many ministers and many member of parliaments and many prime ministers in his last 25 years of teaching at Harvard. And then we have Professor Moshe Temkin, who's a professor of leadership at the Harvard Kennedy School, and also a member of the Belfer Center there, and also teaches in France and the Schwarzman Fellowship Program in China, right? So, we've got the best leadership professor, we've got the best writing and communication professor, we've got the best campaign management professor. We have economics being taught by Professor Indermeet Gill from the World Bank. We have, an ex-military officer who's been in counterinsurgency for 20 years, a fellow at the Stanford, fellow at the Harvard Law School, my batchmate at the Kennedy School for his MPA, is a professor, is a PhD from TIS. So that is the kind of person who's going to be teaching human rights, law, and child rights, who spent time in counterinsurgency, has seen the impact of counterinsurgency on child rights and human rights. And so those are the practical experiences they will bring to the classroom, right? And Professor Shanti D'Souza, who's an AFPAC specialist, Afghanistan-Pakistan specialist, is going to be teaching. Professor Amitabh Mattu is helping and teaching international relation course. Bureaucrat, former civil servant Anil Swarup is going to teach administrative reforms. He's one of the most decorated, Indian bureaucrats. And also, Ambassador Navteej Sarna is going to be teaching a course on foreign relations. So if you look at, we're bringing in a diverse pool of international and high quality Indian people to come and create this experience, because we genuinely feel that, the best people have to teach our students. We don't believe in just anybody and anyone stepping into the class and, holding. And that's why our batch, if you look at the current batch, in the making, we've people from Deloitte, Goldman Sachs, Brookings, ORF, EY, right, with 5 to 6 years of experience, right? While there's a healthy mix of, undergrads, fresh undergrads who are, coming straight after their undergrad. But, we have about 60% of our batch as, anywhere between 3 to 6 years of experience, right? So for a new school, for a policy school, having a batch size like MBA, that's why I have full conviction that MPP is the new MBA, and people who are early adopters are going to find their rightful place in the public policy domain.
So can you talk about the industry exposure and the hands-on experience students will have access to at MPP in Kautilya?
So we're planning 3 things. We're planning hands-on internships with the kind of areas I discussed earlier in the interview. Then there's a capstone project, which is your master's thesis. Again, we're trying to make it very practical, industry-oriented, wherein you have a client problem or you do a primary research, right, to figure out the area, right? Then the third aspect is, tours. Hopefully things will open up now and we could do international tours and look at policy problem from multilateral angles, from from creating consensus across the world? How do you sort of understand what happens in the Geneva Conventions or what happens in UN and stuff? So can our students also get exposure to that? Right. So these are, and obviously, if you look at just our orientation and the kind of speakers we're being able to pull it in our orientation, right? We're getting Mawa Mitra, Owaisi Sahab, we're getting Omar Abdullah, Nidhi Razdan, we're getting, Shaurya Doval, we're getting, General Bikram Singh. These are the people who are going to engage during the orientation itself. So during the 2 years, you can very well imagine what our industry pull is, right? If you've been seeing our events on social media, we just did a panel with CII, right? We have a panel coming up with jobs and employment. We run something called the Let's Talk Policy series, wherein we'll be bringing guests to the campus, right? So I think if that engage, and we're also looking at an international level policy conclave to be done at the institute. So these are the industry avenues people will get access. Since it's a batch of only 6, getting it big. When they in 2 years they graduate, they'll be the next thing to watch out for.
So this being the introductory year of the MPP program, what do you think is the ideal cohort of students to begin with?
The mix of students coming in, people from banking, we've got people from tech, we've got people from law, we've got people from BA politics, we've got people from other streams of BA, right? We've got people from, domains such as, already people are working in artificial intelligence, machine learning, people are working with tribal rights, right? So I think it's again a diverse, any policy issue which you can think of will be represented in the class, right? So that's how we've sort of groomed the batch. And then there are certain people who want to, be the new age politicians as well. And a lot of UPSC aspirants who are disillusioned by the concept of UPSC and have given 2, 3, 4 exams are sort of done with that kind of, archaic way of judging, students are also sort of part of the cohort.
So can you talk about some of the career tracks students can take up upon successful completion of the MPPA program?
Yeah, I'll sort of reiterate what I spoke at the beginning of the interview. Careers in big tech, which are at the intersection of law and public policy, careers in non-profits, careers in corporates and PR, right? Careers in campaign management, right? Again, careers in mainstream government roles, the lateral entries which I've been talking about at Niti Aayog and the state government level, various fellowships which are there, multilaterals, a large chunk of multilaterals, UN, United Nations, etc., a World Bank, which the skills which are required, we'll teach them so that, and mentoring, which is required to get these roles will sort of be there. So these are the broad strokes of careers which will open up post the MPP degree.
So can you talk about some of the learning resources and facilities available at Kautilya School of Public Policy?
Sure. So if you look at our classroom, we have a fully multimedia design classroom, just like any top MBA at Harvard Business School would offers. The horseshoe classrooms, the projectors, the mics, and cam readers, etc. All the fancy gadgets are there in the class. It is just like any modern day. There's a town hall for debates and discussions. There is a cafe. There is a computer lab which has all the latest softwares like Tableau, Python, R, Strata for people to sort of engage with. Our USP is that we have a full-fledged media studio, right? Recording studio, just like any new studio in Noida or any other part of the country would look like. How do you the same kind of bench, the same kind of equipment for people to actually learn hands-on communication, hands-on training, lead policy shows, understand and engage with policy discussions, which can be recorded at our school. So we have a full-fledged design and media studio within the campus, right? Within our own campus, right? Then there's an auditorium, library. Since we are a residential school, we have state-of-the-art residence facility, just like any five-star hotel would have. Our hospitality is managed by Oberoi and Marriott chefs. So we offer almost 6 to 7 cuisines on the campus to ensure not only India but professors from international and students from international folks can come and easily sort of blend in with the culture, right? There's an ATM, there's a bank, tuck shops, etc. at the campus. So it's a full-fledged experience of doing a residential school.
Lastly, what advice do you have for budding public policy enthusiasts in the country?
Great. I think somebody told me that if you have the right intent, right, if you want to have a career in impact along with ensuring that you live upper middle class life, right, have a spine, right, call spade a spade, right, you need to be attuned to where the future of service delivery would be, right? If you're kicked about issues which are neglected as a society, if you are kicked about certain issues where there is a demand which has not been unlocked, the social entrepreneurial space, right, which I forgot to mention as a career, right? I'm a social entrepreneur, right? I felt there was a need for MPP in this country, right? So if you are somebody who's doing MBA as a lender of last resort, or kuch nahi hai, there's nothing else left for me, consider MPP, consider a degree which will prepare you for the future, which will prepare you for an impactful career, which will prepare you for a career where jobs are going to be in the future, right? So not your traditional jobs, right? That's my advice. Like, people who are, who are seeing that India is evolving and there is a latent demand for service delivery, which is there right now, right? I think, and pandemic has accentuated that demand. If you look at the demand which has come for the health services, right? Health was such a neglected sector, right? So, there was a spent up demand which showed, and when people were running helter-skelter for various basic amenities, right? So now imagine the kind of policy initiatives which will come from the private sector to sort of cushion off that health sector and ensure such things don't happen so if you're able to sort of predict that future of service delivery will look very different, it will be very data oriented, it will be very artificial intelligence, machine learning oriented, then this is the right course for you, and Kautilya is the right school for you to sort of trust and get the most out of as your master's degree.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for connecting with us and sharing your views on public policy and how Kautilya can bridge the gap. I'm sure it will be highly informative for students who are looking for careers in this sector.
Great. Thank you so much for interviewing me, and thank you so much for running this beautiful initiative. Cheers.